Hi, I'm going to give you a walkthrough of the TKGameLib, and this is a series of Python examples that help people learn to program in Python. Now I assume that you've already got Python 3 installed and you've downloaded the zip file. If you have a look on the GitHub repository, you can see here TKGameLib, and if you go and have a look in the wiki and go to get started, then that gives you instructions on how to do that. So once you've got Python installed and running, when you start idle, you'll end up with a simple Python shell here, and you'll also have a series of folders on your computer in the TKGameLib folder. Now we're going to have a look at some of the code and examples, and we're going to have a look at see what catch2 does. So let's open that up in idle. Now some of these simpler programs, all the code fits on a single screen, so while you might not understand everything that's going on, you can get your head around the contents of this game and see everything from the start to finish. So let's run this and see what happens. So there we go, we've got to catch the balls, and if we miss one, then the game ends. So that's not very interesting. Let's see if we can make it a bit better. So we can go into the code, and here you can see end game. Now if we change that to be banner, then when we run this, the game won't finish. It'll just put a message up on the screen. So let's see what happens when we do that. There we go. Now there's something interesting here. The banner stays on the screen, but also it doesn't. We don't get the balls back if they go off the bottom of the screen. So those two balls now are way down below here. So let's fix that. We go in the code, and when you miss one, here B is the ball, so we can just do B bounce up, and that should bring them back onto the screen. So let's run that again and see what happens. So let's miss one of them. There we go. So it's still bouncing, that pink one. The message is still staying on the screen. So let's fix that as well. So here we go. If we put an extra parameter in for banner, we can put in the number of milliseconds, and then that message will clear. Okay, so it doesn't stay on the screen for very long, but otherwise that's working well. Now this it's mildly more interesting than what we started with, so let's make it a bit more interesting and add a score. So let's see how we do that. So we can add extra variables into the world up here in this structure. So if we put in here let's do score equals 0. Then we need to display that score as well. So let's put that in to this shootballs method, because this is called continuously. And you can see with show variable we need to provide a label and a value. So let's do that. And run. So we've got an error. Let's see what that error tells us. Now with these errors, it's always worth looking at the last line first, and it says name score is not defined. And the way we access these world variables, for example this one here shows us, is we do world.score. So let's try that. There we go. Now the score just stays at 0, and that's because we haven't put anything in our code to increment the score. So let's do that now. So if we catch a ball, this little bit of code is run here. So we can do world.score plus equals increments it, say, by 5. Run that again. There we go. So now we have the score increasing. Let's decrease the score if we miss. So we can put that here. We can use minus equals, maybe 15 is good. There we go, let's miss a few and see what happens. So the score's now decreasing. So what we could do next is actually make the game end if the score goes below 0. So we need to do that after these two actions here, where one has been missed or one has been caught. So if file.score is less than 0, and then we can do end game. You can see here the default message is simply game over, so we can go with that. So let's catch a few and then let's leave them and see what happens. Okay, so game ended at -5. Now we can increase the balls to make it a bit more of an interesting challenge. So let's change up here, we've got max balls, change that to 15. And now it's a bigger challenge, and we've got to try and get as many as we can. This is probably too many balls, so I think now I've shown you how this works, the next step is to experiment with this number here, and maybe the scores, so that you end up with a game that's playable and isn't too hard, but also isn't too easy. And there you go. So that's how this works. As I say, have a look on GitHub, and have a look at the other examples in there, and have a play with them.